Now, before we start on taxes, I just wanted to address something the President said in Puerto Rico. Sitting with those in Puerto Rico who have been working day and night to help their fellow Americans in times of need, the President said Puerto Rico had, quote, thrown our budget a little out of whack, unquote. Mr. President, enough. Stop blaming Puerto Rico for the storm that devastated their shores and roll up your sleeves and get the recovery on track. That's your job as president. I don't remember the president telling Texas that they threw our budget out of whack after Harvey, or Florida after Irma. Yes, we're spending money in Puerto Rico. We're spending money to turn the power back on, to give people drinking water, and to keep life support machines working in the hospitals. And that's what we do in America. When one part of the country has trouble, the rest of the country reaches out to them and says, we're going to help you. They did it for New York after Sandy, New York and New Jersey. They did it for Texas after Harvey, and Florida after Irma, and Puerto Rico should be just the same. To have the gall to complain about Puerto Rico throwing our budget out of whack while proposing tax cuts for millionaires that will cost trillions of dollars boggles the mind. Boggles the mind. Mr. President, stop the blame game. Start making the situation better. That's your job.
Now, I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack, because we've spent a lot of money on Puerto Rico, and that's fine. We've saved a lot of lives. If you look at the, every death is a horror, but if you look at a real catastrophe like Katrina, and you look at the tremendous hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that died, and you look at what happened here with really a storm that was just totally overpowering. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. What is your death count as of this moment? 17?
16 certified.
16 people certified. 16 people versus in the thousands. You can be very proud of all of your people, all of our people working together. 16 versus literally thousands of people. You can be very proud. Everybody around this table and everybody watching can really be very proud of what's taken place in Puerto Rico.
Now, on taxes, which is what we wanted to talk about today, I want to thank my colleagues, Senator Sanders, doing a great job as ranking member of the Budget Committee, Senators Stabenow, Whitehouse, and Merkley, members of the Budget Committee, for joining us this afternoon.
Republicans say you're just guessing at the impact of their legislation because they haven't written it.
Well, they've written all the giveaways to the wealthy. They then say, well, we'll find ways to pay for it, and they don't say how it is. We're not guessing at all. This comes exactly from their plan. And if they want to change it, great. But right now their plan says trillions of dollars of tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires, cut Medicare and Medicaid. That's indisputable. So we know what they're saying. They haven't filled in the details, but if they stick with this framework, the details will be as bad, if not worse.
And right now, the American people add to what Chuck said. There's no guessing. It's in black and white. You can see the budget functions are very clear. $1 trillion cut to Medicaid, $470 billion cuts to Medicaid. That is right there in black and white.
Right now,
We can get you that big.
We'll get you the budget papers.
right now, the American people are talking about guns and gun control and mass shootings. What would you say to your constituents who favor tighter regulations on guns? Is that a fight that you guys are able to have?
Yes, but we have sent a letter to the President. I have requested of the President to call us together, Democrats and Republicans, to come up with a reasonable solution. Before he was a candidate and marched in lockstep to the NRA, Donald Trump expressed a very reasonable position on gun control. In fact, he said after Sandy, he supported the kind of bills we support. Let's hold him to that. Break from the NRA, which is making things worse, and work with us to get something done. We need his help.
Senator Schumer, given the nature of this attack, it was a high-powered assault rifle from 400 yards away, lots of ammunition used at once. Do you support votes on the assault weapons ban?
Well, Senator Feinstein is taking a piece of the assault weapons ban that allows you to convert semi-automatic guns to automatic guns and abolishing it. It's legislation that the vast majority of us in the Democratic caucus support, maybe everybody.
What about
Next one.
Republicans came back from a dinner with the president last night saying you don't actually have a deal with him on the future of DACA, border security, that he's talking about things that you did not come out of that dinner discussing. What is your understanding of it right now?
If the president is changing his view, he should tell us. I've talked to the president, I've talked to General Kelly about continuing on the path that we all agreed to indisputably. The next morning, Mick Mulvaney came out and said what Nancy and I had said the night before was accurate. And if they want to continue on that path, great. If they want to back off, let them tell us.
Just to follow up on that question, if they start talking about having interior enforcement, do you see that not being any deal? Is that a problem?
Yes, we were explicit at the meeting that interior enforcement was not part of this deal, and what it was strengthening things at the border. If they've changed their position, America needs to know about it.
What about on the gun issue here? Do you think that their success around the long time, Carolina Parkway, Long Island, 1996, we run on that issue and can make an impact here in the House and Senate, and that's the deficiency in this approach.
This is the swamp. A small, powerful lobby that represents a vast minority, a very small minority of Americans, seems to have a stranglehold on the Republican Party. And that shouldn't be. That's the kind of thing Donald Trump campaigned against. Let's see if he has the courage, the willpower, the strength to say, I'm going to break with that small group and do something that makes common sense and what Americans, overwhelming numbers, Democrats, Republicans, and independents want.
Senator,
Yes.
the DACA deal, one of the ideas discussed last night was adding some of the RAISE Act ideas that Tom Cotton did.
Again, we were explicit that the president would support the Durbin-Graham proposal, the DREAM Act, DACA. And if they're backing off on that, we ought to know, okay? That was not said. We went through it explicitly. As I said, the next morning, Mulvaney came out. I saw it on TV and said what Pelosi and Schumer said the night before was accurate. If they're backing off it because of pressure from the hard right, America ought to know and we ought to know.
And nobody from the White
Yes.
House.
In the budget resolution, it looks like the Republicans, in addition to most Republicans have done on tax, but it looks like they're also going to try and open up animal. Or at least there's an instruction that
It allows them to in 50 minutes. Look, I can't imagine how they came up with this resolution. It is so unpopular with the American people. It is so poorly put together that it's just headed for failure. And if you want almost proof of this, they're lying about it. They're not saying what's in it. They say it's tax cuts for the middle class. It's not. It's aimed at the rich. They say no wealthy people will get a tax cut. They do. They say it's going to decrease the deficit. No one on this planet Earth believes that. They're ashamed of this proposal. It's been drawn up by the hard right, Koch brothers, and whomever else. It is so unpopular with the American people. Why they came up with this proposal, there's only one explanation. The Freedom Caucus and the hard right has such power in the Republican Party that they're pulling them way off base. Didn't they learn the lesson with health care?
Senator Schumer, is President Trump the only factor in this gun stalemate that could actually change the stalemate and break it?
Well, he's the most logical. Our Republican colleagues in the Senate, despite the efforts, bipartisan, of Senators Manchin and Toomey, were unable to break it a few years ago after the horrible shootings in Connecticut. So President Trump, again, it's really his responsibility to do this. As I said, in the past, he's been very reasonable about the gun issue. He ran for Republican president. He had to do what the NRA wanted him to do. But now it would be an act of courage, strength, and popularity to do something. America's yearning for it. Thank you, everybody.